Well, hello and welcome to this brand new episode. I want to start this episode with a question. Does the idea of setting limits with other people or saying no make you feel kind of queasy, maybe shaking a little bit in your boots? Do you want to just not deal with it when you actually really need to set a boundary with someone? If you're nodding your head yes, well, then I made this video just for you. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you what to expect, like the emotions and the feelings that can come up that can get in the way of us setting those boundaries that we need. And knowing what to look out for is a way to avoid sabotaging your own boundaries. So if you are new to my channel, hi, I'm Terri Cole. I'm so psyched that you are here, so please be sure to introduce yourself. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, I'm a relationship expert, and I'm also the author of Boundary Boss. It's right there. And you can get that at boundarybossbook.com. I'm so excited that you guys are here, and you know that I read all of your comments, your questions in the question section, and I love to highlight questions and comments. So today I'm highlighting Bernadine, who says, and this is under the episode that I did on the psychological defense mechanism projection. She wrote, I've been on the path of healing and owning my stuff for many years now. Projection is something I've done for a long time in the, hey, they don't like me scenario. Thank you for the downloadable guide and explanation. It certainly resonates with me. Well, Bernadine, you are not alone. We got so many comments and questions and thank yous for that episode. So if you haven't seen it, you can check it out. Also, I wanted to mention that in almost every single episode, I create a free downloadable guide for you so that you can dive a little bit deeper into what I talked about in the video. I really want you to be able to take something with you from the work that I'm doing. This is a way that I can do my dharma, which is to help as many people as possible have more joy and less pain, and make complicated theoretical psychological stuff accessible so that you can apply it to your life, because you guys are super duper smart. You just need someone who can teach it to you in bite-size segments, which is exactly what I do. So if you're new here, or if you're not new here but you've just been too lazy to subscribe, hi, go hit that button, hit the bell, subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss a thing, because I'm always putting out new content for you. All right, so let's move into today's content. We're going to be talking about feelings. If you're like any of the zillions of clients and students that I've had over the past 25 years, you're going to have a lot of feelings around learning to establish healthy boundaries in your life, talking true, being seen. Lots and lots of feelings will come with that. You may feel exhausted. You might feel hopeful. You might feel anxiety, excitement, fear. You might be looking forward to it. But there's so many things that you could feel. I just want you to expect that you're going to feel a lot of things. So being okay with being a little uncomfortable is definitely part of the winning formula when it comes to becoming a boundary boss, becoming healthy in this way in your life. So, we have a lot of unspoken agreements in relationships, right? I did something on silent agreements not that long ago, but this is important to get clear about. If you have a spoken agreement, an unspoken agreement in any of your relationships that, like, you will never rock the boat, you will never confront anyone, it's very challenging to do so. So we need to reveal those silent agreements. So in your life, it's important to know if you never do these things, there's a reason why you don't do them. And it's okay to change the dance. That's all we're talking about, is talking true. And to do that and to change the dance, you have to be willing to do something different that you haven't done before. So moving into what are the things that get in the way of us going forward. If when I was talking at the top about how it makes you feel to think about setting a boundary with someone, if that feeling is so unpleasant that you want to avoid it, then you never get to the actual boundary setting. So we're going to be with that feeling and stay with the feeling of fear or the feeling of dread and start to normalize those feelings. Just because something feels scary doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It is not a signal to abort necessarily. And of course, it goes without saying, but it can't because I'm a psychotherapist, so I'm going to say it. If you're in any kind of an abusive situation, this doesn't apply to you, right? So I'm not saying if you're in an abusive situation and you feel afraid, you should ignore it. That's not what I'm saying. If you're in an abusive situation, please go look at the episode I did to help you safely leave a dangerous situation. Because what I'm talking about today is not fear of physical harm. It's the emotional fear that we have of being rejected, of falling out of favor with other people. And there are other things that get in our way. So we have our regular straight up fear if we are people pleasers, if we have the disease to please, if we're codependently attached to those in our life. So those are the regular fears of just, if you're a peacekeeper, you don't want to rock the boat. I want you to change your mind about sharing how you feel about things, though, because it doesn't have to be rocking the boat. You being truthful can't be something that is on the never gonna do it list if you want to have healthy boundaries. You've got to learn to talk true, and you can do it with love, and you can do it with kindness, and you can do it very neutral or being very calm about it. It doesn't have to be some huge explosion, but you are going to have to do something different, and you're going to have feelings about doing something different. Another thing that can get in the way, and feelings that get created when we start this journey of setting boundaries and talking more honestly, being more authentic in our lives, is that many of us were raised in a family system where certain feelings were, I call them forbidden feelings. So I was raised in a family where getting angry, that was a forbidden feeling. So why does it matter? And in the little downloadable guide that I'm creating for you, I'm giving you some questions so that you can identify what feelings might have been forbidden in the family of origin that you grew up in. So maybe you were like me. Maybe your family didn't like anger either, or you weren't allowed. I want you to connect the dots, though, to how this is complicated when you want to set boundaries. So in my life, anger wasn't allowed growing up, which meant that I unconsciously turned anger into a more acceptable emotion, like sadness, like depression, like something other than that. So I could always tell someone I was upset, usually after the fact, but I could never own up to my anger, because at that point, it was so threatening to me that I didn't even know it was anger. So obviously it took a long time in therapy for me to figure out why was I never being angry. But of course I was low-key always angry, annoyable, irritated by things, because again, being annoyed or irritated was okay. Being angry was not. So perhaps in your family of origin, there was similarity. Or you weren't allowed to be afraid, or you weren't allowed to be sad. Or in some families, they're so dialed into suffering that people being too happy is a problem. Believe it or not, that you almost always have to play up the things that are bad in your life so that you don't threaten someone else within the family system. So don't worry, I'm going to give you a little thing that you can fill out to get an idea of what emotions, if any, in your family system. It doesn't mean that happened. It's just a possibility. So you can figure out what they are for you. Okay, moving on. Moving into what do you do when you feel the feelings? So there's a cycle of how thoughts create feelings and feelings inform our boundary behavior. So in this process of having all of these feelings, you've got to stay incredibly mindful. You've got to be present. So when you have a thought, okay, I need to have a conversation with my sister, let's say, about, I asked her to tell me if she was going to borrow my clothes without just using her key to my apartment and going in and taking something, right? Let's just say that's the scenario. Maybe I have a fear of confronting my sister or asking her why did she do that when she said she wasn't going to do it anymore. So that feeling now happens when I think about confronting her. So I can do one of two things. I can let that feeling, that fearful feeling, make me put it off and say, oh, well, we're having such a nice dinner. I'm not going to say anything tonight. I'll talk to her about it this weekend. So we procrastinate. We decide it's not a big deal. It's too long. It's already been 5 days. I'm thinking of all the ways we justify not saying anything. But what's really happening is that fearful feeling I had, let's say, about confronting my sister, about her violating our boundary agreement that she wouldn't just take stuff from my closet. I mean, not like I'm saying this from real life. Okay, I'm saying this from real life. But not wanting to have that negative interaction would then guide that is what is driving my avoidant behavior. So we have choices to make. You have a thought. Do you recognize there is a boundary conversation or a boundary request or a limit that I need to set with someone? Now you're going to dial into how you feel. And you're going to, in some way, be mindful and be clever enough to see the way that your fear mind is trying to trick you out of not having the conversation. And you're going to soothe yourself and say, you know what? I can do this with love. I can bring it up. I've got if I have Boundary Boss in my library, I have a whole chapter of scripts that I can use for this exact situation. So you come up with, let me think about what is it that I want to say, right? We're tapping into what I would call your proactive boundary success plan. We're visualizing it going well. We're coming up with, hey, I wanted to bring it to your attention that I noticed when I was away, you went into my apartment and took my whatever the thing is that's missing. I mean, unless it was stolen, it had to be you because you're the only person who has keys. And I was bummed because I was looking to wear that to a meeting that I had, but I couldn't because it wasn't there. And we had an agreement that you would not go in and just take stuff with it. Why didn't you just text me and ask me? So I'm reiterating our agreement. And if it happens again, I'm going to have to take your key back. So that is adding, right? That's like I've been down this road before of this person and I added a consequence. So we're moving from I had the thought I was going to do it, then I had the feeling that I wanted to avoid, but then I stay with it long enough to say, okay, but I need to do something different. Then I come up with my script, what I'm going to say. It doesn't have to be word for word, but you have an idea. It could even be, hey, I was really bummed when I went and looked for my shawl and it wasn't there. Did you take it? And then you have the conversation. Then you have to deal with, now you're going to have a feeling after you set a boundary. So I'm going to move into this last piece of this episode, which is what do you do when you have a feeling of fear, guilt, regret after speaking up and drawing a boundary? Well, I have something in the book that I share with you. It's called the 48-hour rule. So you have to commit to not taking back anything for 48 hours. Because if you wait 48 hours, the likelihood that you're going to want to take it back is about zero. It's just a reaction to, sorry, that was uneven. It's just a reaction to doing something different. So we have a 48-hour rule, and we're going to allow ourselves to have that roller coaster of emotions afterwards without doing anything. And we are going to take some kind of soothing action. We're going to do something to take care of ourselves. So the process goes like this. You have a thought or a realization that you need to draw a boundary or have a conversation. You're going to have a reaction to that thought, but you're not going to go with the reaction, right? You're going to acknowledge those feelings, and then you're going to go forward anyway. You're going to make a plan. You're going to tell yourself, it's normal for me to feel this way. It's okay. I still have the right to be seen, and I'm going to do this. So I'm going to come up with my proactive boundary success plan, and I'm going to get my little words together. Then you're going to have the experience. You're going to visualize it before you have the experience going well. And then afterwards, whatever emotional fallout you may experience, you're going to self-soothe and you're not going to take back the boundary. So that is going to be the cycle that you're going to get committed to. Now, the more you do this, the easier it gets. The less you want to take it back. And in fact, you'll get to a point where you don't want to take it back at all, because you are creating your new emotional normal by normalizing making a simple request, prioritizing your preference, negotiating for your needs. When you do it often, it becomes so not the big deal that it is in the beginning, because it really does become your new normal. So what I'm saying, and if you want me to walk you through this process, literally hold your hand, well, then you're in luck, because you know what's coming up in September? Boundary Boot Camp. That is correct. The course itself, everyone is welcome to take the course. It is intense. It is amazing. I think you're going to love it. And if you want to do it with a group of like-minded, like-hearted humans, we're doing it towards the end of September, and I would love to have you. All the information to sign up is below. I think we have a waiting list, or maybe a sign-up sheet already. I'm not even sure. But anyway, you'll see. There's links. Will be links all over this episode. But I would love to walk you through it. It's really one of my favorite courses to teach, because teaching it in real time. So I'm actually teaching it. It's not pre-recorded stuff. It's me actually doing it with you. So you get to ask your questions. Everyone's situation is so unique. But going through this process, it's 8 weeks, 7 modules. I really think you're going to love it. People have been transforming their asses off taking this class, and it really accelerates this process. Even though if you have the book, I promise you, I'm walking you through it in the book step by step, but I'm walking you through the course in actual real life. So anyway, if you're interested, all you need to do is go to the links that are down here. It's BB 2021. So terricole.com/BB 2021 is where you can find all the news that's fit to print. And I want to hear what your experience is. What are your forbidden emotions? Did you have any that you discovered? What feelings come up for you when you think about drawing boundaries or having the conversation? And can you understand how really looking at this cycle that I laid out for you in this episode and going through it yourself, expecting that you're going to have these feelings, but that doesn't mean that you should abort your plan. That is going to move you forward so much on just continuing next right action, and then the next right action after that. That is all you are doing. So I hope this episode added value to your life. I hope it made you less afraid to set boundaries, because I'm right here cheering you on like a wild maniac. And if you're interested in doing Boundary Bootcamp, just go to terricole.com/BB 2021. As always, let me know what your thoughts are on this episode, and take care of you.